Good morning. Time for 2023 guesses? No, predictions. Predictions.
We're not playing darts today?
We played last night, remember? No.
Yeah, I knew I was not feeling well this morning. No, I'm just kidding.
Morning, everybody. Brenden Rendo with the Homes in Orlando team at NextHome Neighborhood Realty, and joined as always with Dionne of Appli Home Loans. Oh, I was reading through a bunch of stuff, trying to get some ideas, then watch some news. I ain't got a clue.
Not a single clue, like not anything. The great part is we took a different approach this week than usually. We talk a little bit, we have a little bit of idea, but this week we wanted organic, natural, just off the cuff reaction. So I don't know what you're gonna say, and you don't know what I'm gonna say. So this is gonna be interesting.
This could be a fun one. Yeah,
say you're not wrong that I've never seen a widespread consensus it's such a vast difference in what all the experts are saying. Nobody's really in agreement.
It was crazy because I looked at Zillow. Zillow's saying, price, home appreciation is going to be close to, I think, 2.5% the coming year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, realtors par, everything's just kind of stay par. And then Redfin saying like 5% decrease.
Yeah. Then
I sat back and I thought, okay, I'm not Zillow. I didn't lose $500 million last year. I'm not Redfin. My stock price isn't down to under $1. And Realtor.com, they just throw shit out there. It is. It's literally this wide. Everyone's all over the park.
Mm-hmm.
And it really all comes down to what happens in the bond market.
Yeah.
The bond market's going to drive everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can stay steady, where the 10-year T's sitting right now in that range, I think we're going to have what I would consider a normal year.
Mm-hmm.
You got to throw out 2021 and the first half of 2022 and 2020. They were just unbelievable, incredible years.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Fed, was basically propping up the market with 2.5-3% 30-year mortgages.
Yeah.
And it's just not normal. And I'm not sure. I'm a little nervous because I think we could see it swing one way really heavy,
mm-hmm.
or we could see it swing back the other way, just positive.
Mm-hmm.
The downside, I think, is there's a higher risk for the downside than there is for an upside right now.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I tend to stay I'm going to stay in the mortgage sector, right? But I think that's good. I think what we're going to see this year is, you kind of mentioned, everything lives and dies with the bond market, and that's going to be the rates. And we're going to see, we're at a point what we've seen, tail end of 2022 or for almost all of 2022 is rates now play a big impact in that buying process, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's still that shock and awe of crap, they're high, right? And historically, yes, we can play this whole game. I love seeing the little memes and stuff where it's when I bought my first house, I was a 13.1 rate in, 1991 or something, right? And it's that's so cool and that's awesome. But the reality is where it's 2022.
Yep.
A lot of people right now that are buying their first home, and I joke, it's well, all right, we had rates like this, and we're
2018?
Huh?
No, not 2018. What, 2006, wasn't it?
2006. You're talking 15, 16 years ago was the last time we saw rates like this. Historically, the average home buyer is in their mortgage for 5 to 6 years.
Yep.
So in theory, most buyers are on their third mortgage since 2006 right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Most homeowners.
Yep.
So they had two other mortgages that they've done that were at lower rates. So this does feel like a big, and there's a lot of buyers right now that are buying their first home or trying to buy their first home that never experienced rates. So telling a 30-year-old who's never owned a home that, oh, well, back in my day, rates were way up here. That 30-year-old's also like sitting there going, yeah, but back in your day, your $1 million home only cost you 200,000.
Yes.
Right. Like, and that's where a lot of like, I get that. I always laugh like the the millennial generation beyond always is like, oh, woe is me. Like I've got it so hard. Like, and I'm part of that generation, but there is a little bit of credence when it comes to that financial side is like, it's hard. Like, yes, rates are much higher right now, but you can't compare what you bought. Like someone that bought a home in 2000, 6, and then someone that bought a home in 1990 or the 70s, like, that was a great way to build wealth. And it
was.
still
Yep.
is, but it's a lot harder. There's no more getting into that starter home. And I think that's the challenge, right? Is that we're seeing, okay, well, rates are high. What are they going to do? And we know that rates kind of a lot of this driving force is inflation and fear of recession. Like the further we get into a recession, maybe we see some deflationary results on which will help pull rates back down. But conversely, like they just revised. Did you see the revised GDP numbers came out for Q3?
No, I missed.
This morning, it just came out. They came out higher, 3.2. So they were revised upward. So it's kind of like, well, if you're the feds, what are you doing right now? Because it's like we're in a freaking recession, but in theory, GDP numbers just went up. We got unemployment that's still below averages. Like I don't think we're gonna see interest rates start to go down until we see. And this is the hard part: is everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, we're in a recession and this is so bad." But the reality is we've been so overemployed right now in theory that just getting back to the normal is going to feel like a kick to the face.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
And but we need to
I was feeling a little differently until I saw what Japan did this week. Like you said, the bond market. Japan, what they did is they opened their window of what they call their spread, the yield.
Yep.
From 0.25 to 0.5. And it's only a quarter point. But it freaked out the market.
Yeah.
It freaked out the market. And the other thing is they've come out, and this is the thing that I have the biggest fear of, is they're going to start selling treasuries. Mm-hmm. They're selling the U.S. treasuries because they have to, they're getting their butt kicked by us, dollar value wise.
Yep.
And they're going to be selling dollars to prop up their own currency, which, what does that do? It floods the market of treasury bills, right? So if you've got a flood, what do you have to do? You have to give a better yield on them. So it can force our 10-year T to push back up. Pushes back up, mortgage rates go back up. Mm-hmm. And then you've got this, omnibus bill. Can't remember the last time they've actually finished a budget on time, the Congress. Yeah. And we're going to borrow another $1 trillion. Another $1 trillion. Well, how do you do that? You print it. What causes inflation? Printing money. And we've gotten into this cycle, and it's like, guys, you're not doing us any favors.
Yeah.
There's no adults in the room in Washington. They're all afraid to say, nope, guess what, guys? Stop. We got to get our house back in order.
Yeah.
And so again, what happens? You print another $1 trillion, you got to get, quote, borrow for it. So it pushes the yield back up.
Yep.
And that's the thing those two things took me from a very a more optimistic feel for going into next year.
Yeah.
Because that's my worry is, it's all going to hit. And when it hits, we see that rate spike. I can't remember a year ever like 2022 with the rate spikes that we saw.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see it in 2023. It's like,
no. Yeah, I think we're sitting, and this is the hard part is I almost feel like we're sitting in this really weird stage. And I'm sorry, I was trying to make myself not look dead. And I was like, my gosh, I look so pale and grim. Like that is not how I necessarily feel about markets, but gosh, it sucks the life out of me apparently. I think that we're kind of just in this weird position where I think next year is going to be better than what we expect, a little bit better than what we expect. But there's still going to be a large uncertainty that kind of looms over or hangs over that's like kind of like a fog in the air of the market for most of next year. I think that I can, personally, I believe we're going to see rates stay kind of consistent. I think we'll see them climb back up, but then I see them dropping back down. But I don't think we're going to see this massive drop down. Like I don't expect us to be in the 4s next year. No. I think best case, we end next year in the high 5s on conventional owner occupied 30 year, right? Mm-hmm. That's where I'm kind of putting my money on is I think we're going to end up in the high 5s.
Which would provide a refi situation for a lot of people.
Yeah. There's a lot of borrowers over 7, right? Like, I still think that there's going to be a chance to refinance within the next 12 to 18 months. Is going to be a really strong refi market, possibly a little bit sooner, a little bit later, depending on where it looks. But I do feel that next year into we're going to see values slow down, right? We already saw that we saw them kind of pull back a little bit. But I think we're going to see that they're going to slow, but we're going to see a historic growth. So maybe a 2 to 3% growth on home values next year. And I think that we're going to see rates. And I think that's going to be partly prompted by the fact that rates are going to be more stable. We're not going to have this wild change. We might bump up to 7 again, but then come back down, and I think we're going to end the year in the high 5s. What it looks like in between there, really hard to say. But that's kind of what I'm projecting and what I'm predicting based off of everything I'm seeing. Now, conversely, I'm just a humble guy that owns a mortgage brokerage here in Central Florida. There's people that are a lot more experienced than me, and some people are projecting low 5s. There's people projecting 9% interest rate next year.
Yeah, the swing absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
you sit there. It's interesting because you sit and you keep up with the market articles, things like that, and it comes back to the same thing as the rest of the country. You would think that the world was caving. Some of these headlines are just like,
oh yeah,
it's like, oh my gosh, no one. The Mortgage News Daily yesterday, no one buying or selling existing homes. Well, that's not true. That's not true. It's like, well, they're looking at 4 million projection for next year. That's still a ton of houses.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, recession, good times, bad times, people are always going to be buying and selling houses. They're always going to be doing it. It's just, I hope we never have to go back to those days where you're up at, 6 o'clock in the morning, checking things out the door, Central Florida, just read an article from the Orlando Business Journal that Osceola County is number 2 in the country for second homes. Their lock on second homes is up 6% over last year, which that's great news for Central Florida. And they're not cheap homes either. you're talking on average $500,000 and up for second homes.
Mm-hmm.
Where those people are a little less affected by the the adjustments in the rates. So, and then our unemployment rate is still sitting here in Florida is 2.79.
Yeah,
that's full employment.
Mm-hmm.
Still one of the top 10 places to move to in the country.
Yep.
So we're in a bubble outside of everyone else. We are, and I think that's where we're going to see our consistency. We're going to see the consistency that we're not seeing in California, Idaho, Austin, Texas right now. Got a buddy over in Austin, Texas, and they've dropped 10, 12, 13% on their values in the past 6 months. And he's kind of like, oh, I'm like, well, the higher you go up, the bigger the drop can be.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it.
And they're still historically they're going to average out.
It's going to average out. And you look at historically, homes on average are still the best place to build wealth.
Mm-hmm.
It is still one of the best places to build wealth, as a family.
Yep.
And I think it will always be. And it's quote, the American dream to own your own home.
Yep.
I've got a spec builder I'm doing some work with right now, and I think he's got 15 done this year, and he's planning on going up to 30 homes next year. And he's super optimistic.
Yeah.
Very optimistic.
And if it's a spec builder, I think it is like what are they targeting, right? Like
$300,000 to $400,000.
They're targeting the market, right? That first time home buyer, or just maybe a small upgrade type thing. A lot of these national builders got greedy, and I get it. They went, boom, let's freaking mac it, and they were building all these McMansions everywhere.
Yes,
500, 600, 700,000. It's like, well, what about the first time home buyer? Like that, you always have to make sure the first time home buyer can get into a home. And so many builders, we're ignoring them. And there's such a profitable market there.
Well, you look at Lennar just came out and we're stating, they're cutting the number of homes for next year. And they actually canceled, I think it was roughly about $76 million in options they had for next year. But he's still the CEO still feels in a good position because they're saying that they weren't too heavy on the inventory, and they can pull it back to meet the current demand, which was smart.
Yeah. But
you're seeing other home builders, but you still drive around all of Orlando. You drive that loop. What do you see? Building everywhere.
Yep, everywhere.
Spoke to a commercial plumber. He has more business than he can deal with, and it's just that he can't get people to do the work. Mm-hmm. He can't hire enough people to do the work. So those things make you feel good. You kind of have to take the national picture, kind of look at it, but really look like real estate is local.
Yep.
Real estate is local. And just remember that in your head. Real estate is local. Look at your local numbers. Mm-hmm. Understand your local numbers, because that's really what's going to push and drive, you locally.
Yep.
And those are the things that are making me feel good for next year.
Yeah.
He's jumping to 30. The commercial guy, he's booked. He's like, I'm booked out for 18 months. I'm like, wow.
It's great.
I didn't realize it was that good. I've been curious, how, because usually the commercial sector goes first and then the residential slows down.
Mm-hmm.
And that commercial sector, they're still strong here. Very strong. Which means you got a lot of people employed.
Mm-hmm.
Which means they need houses. And there it is.
And that's how it all works.
So.
All
right. Well, those are our predictions, our guesses for next year. I think we're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
but a little nervous, but hey, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look just real quick and look how the numbers were for the week. And this is kind of goes back to even our predictions, is consistency. And we're seeing that consistency in the Orlando market right now. Homes sold 377. We did have a median price decrease of about 4%, but we're still in that range that we've been sitting in for the past several months.
Mm-hmm.
And our inventory is just holding steady. This is the one that's going to be fun to watch, because right after New Year's, see how many people come out and put something on the market right after the new year.
Yeah.
And when you look at our, what we look at every week, our original list, final list, the sales price, we actually came up about 1% over last week.
Mm-hmm.
And our final actually went up about 1% too, to about 97%.
Mm-hmm.
And you come across and you see we've kind of jumped up a bit.
Yeah.
We're not that 4%, we actually did like a 2.5%.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a couple things. One, people pricing their houses better, just right off the bat.
Yep.
And number two is, with the rates decreasing, people aren't feeling as stressed to beat up, or demand as much from a seller.
Yeah.
Because when you're going from 7.25 to 6.25,
yeah,
it's less stress.
It amazes me how quickly that 2-1 buy down became such a hot piece, and it's almost the 3-2-1, everything, like it's almost like that's all anybody wanted to talk about 3 months ago. And now like nobody even really cares about it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing how that 1% difference lower makes the world go round.
Makes a world of difference. Makes an absolute world of difference. We look at our graphs. Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
Here's our median sitting right in there. We dipped a little bit below 4, but I imagine you watch, this is probably going to come back up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems like that 400,000 mark is the sweet spot here in Orlando.
Yep.
Then our weekly sales numbers, where's our sweet spot been for the past several months? That 400 homes per week.
Yep.
Which I feel Orlando can consistently do that. I think we'll probably take a little spike in the spring, probably jump up to that 500, 550 mark.
Mm-hmm.
As long as the inventory is there. And that's going to be one of the other biggest questions for next year is inventory. Because we really did see a leveling off and actually a little bit of a decrease. But it's our winter. It's supposed to be 30 degrees this weekend. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're gonna be freezing.
Yes. Yeah.
It'll be cold.
But you look at that, and that's the other thing is we're still low. If this can grow up to 6,000, 7,000 homes for next year,
yep,
then I think we'll see a little more play, maybe a little more push downward in pricing.
Mm-hmm.
But that 5,000 for a million people market, that's not a lot of homes.
It's not.
And a lot of them aren't in the greatest condition when you sit and you look at them.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at them, I want $400,000 this. And I was like, oh, no, not happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then our condo market is doing the same thing. Same consistency. Sitting around that 3% discount. Same days on market. 46, 49 days on market. So we've hit a very consistent, over the past several months, a very consistent market.
Yep.
Very consistent. And I'm happy with it. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
I know what my target is. My target is 25 to 30 homes per year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see me having a problem hitting that mark. next year.
Yeah.
I really don't. So, any last thoughts? Any final before our Christmas break?
No, I think you pretty much. I feel pretty good, like you said. I think we're gonna have some fun with next year. It's gonna be scary at times. It's gonna be fun at times. It's gonna be chaotic at times. Um, you know, I will say that it is always a joy in this industry as we approach Christmas because almost every realtor I know takes this week off, which means that my life gets a lot easier. Considering I had 3 agents cancel appointments with me today alone.
Really? Holy cow.
It's like they're like, oh, I got last minute Christmas shopping to do. And I'm like, oh, that's so tough. Okay. No, but it's definitely always interesting. I think that first week of January, those numbers, when we look at them, are going to be pretty low. Just because of the time of the year. And I think it's going to be probably end of January before we get a real feel of what's going to happen in 2023.
Yep. And, I'm looking forward to it. To me, I always love the challenge. Yeah. I love the challenge. I'm a news geek. I'm a geek, period. So,
But the challenge will be good, and it'll be. Yes. I always like when things are a little bit harder because when it's too easy, everybody tries to do it.
Yep. I agree with you wholeheartedly there. Well, listen, have a Merry Christmas to you and your family. To everyone out there, have a blessed Christmas and a Happy New Year. We're taking next week off. We'll be back the first week of January, and we'll kick it off running.
There we go.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.